Hang on, hang on. Please don't all talk.
This is also a woman who's basically being installed as president.
Be just a little bit honest for a moment, Dave and Larry.
Piers Morgan had on the ultimate grifter Dave Rubin, Larry Elder, Luke Beasley, and Ameshia Cross. Let's look at some of the highlights and then talk about them.
I would say that an orange man with crazy hair who's a billionaire is more authentic and more real and more of a man of the people than any of the people on the other side who purport to be for the people but actually are the elites.
Trump has made so many misleading statements during his life. He undermines and attacks people, accepts no criticism, creates alternative realities, exaggerates almost everything, and exploits societal tensions to his advantage. He is not a man of the people. He is a man of himself.
Trump loves to work more than anything else. Trump loves work. He loves success.
Trump claims to believe that the body has a finite amount of energy, like a battery. He has publicly said that exercise is misguided and it depletes the limited energy our bodies have. That doesn't sound like somebody who loves to work.
Did you not embrace the full joy of the Donald at McDonald's?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that a guy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth who chooses a day to cosplay as a McDonald's employee is something we should be celebrating.
Why
These
not?
are people who've been fighting to have minimum wage. These are people who are fighting to have minimum wage increases, which the Republican Party and Donald Trump is against.
Republicans have also done things like block legislation for universal kindergarten, paid family and medical leave, child care subsidies, Medicare expansion, supplemental nutrition assistance, home care for older people with disabilities, and federal college for low-income students.
We're talking about a party that has not supported reducing child poverty rates. They did not support extended child tax credits. This is a party that does not care about not only sustaining the middle class, but obviously people who are earning poverty wages.
When it comes to tax cuts and wars, they can always find endless amounts of money. They claim to care about life and want to ban abortion while simultaneously blocking everything they can that will actually help poor people.
Well, I will say that MAGA has been repeatedly expressing that they're upset that Kamala is having these fun moments. Oh, she's laughing weird, or stop dancing, there's serious problems. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there, but I will say this McDonald's thing is the perfect example of how Trump gets away with what he does, because a bunch of people in the media play right into what he's doing, which I agree, a fun little photo op at McDonald's, a lot of people are going to find that likable, ignoring the actual substance, which is he gets asked about the minimum wage, he can't answer it because on policy, he's a failure.
The McDonald's ordeal was definitely a smart thing to do. A lot of people will be focusing on his public appearances and taking their mind off his bad ideas.
That's exactly what he's trying to do, distract from the fact that days before an election, he's promising to go after his political enemies with this enemies from within sort of comment. Distract from the fact that he's the most anti-democratic presidential candidate we've seen in
let me bring in
American politics. Distract from the fact that hundreds of economists are saying that Trump's plan would harm the economy.
Okay, let me bring in Larry. Larry, your response to this.
Trump and the people around him, such as Steve Bannon, are the best at creating distractions. They called it, quote, flooding the zone. When they would attack as many things about people as quickly as possible. They do things like media stunts and exploit media cycles with controversial statements or actions at specific times.
Well, you're talking to somebody whose father here used to clean toilets for a living, saved his nickels and dimes, and started a cafe where he sold hamburgers.
Larry Elder is talking about growing up poor, suggesting that it gives him more understanding of normal people. What seems to escape him is the fact that Trump is the exact opposite. Using his same logic, wouldn't that mean that Trump should be more out of touch with normal people?
She's been so specific. She's named the branch that she worked at. She's named the summer that she worked there, 1983. And she said she was working on the ice cream stand, the French fry stand, on reception. She was there for weeks on end throughout one summer, and not a single human being that came across her, either working with her or a customer or anything,
haven't seen a person come out and say,
has any memory of this person who is now potentially about to become president of the United States. I'm just smelling a rat here.
Pierce calls Kamala a rat because she hasn't provided proof of working at a McDonald's 40 years ago during a summer in 1983. How he can continue to say he isn't biased with a straight face is beyond me.
Why don't we do something a little more substantive, whether than she's lying or not about her resume? I mean, this is also a woman who's basically being installed as president as far as the Democrats are concerned, so they're not that concerned with resumes.
Most vice presidents later run for presidency with extreme support. I'm sure that high-level ideas Dave Rubin is aware of that. Sometimes circumstances change, and although I would have preferred a more democratic process to choose the nominee, there just wasn't enough time.
The market should dictate what minimum wage is. If you want to artificially tell the McDonald's how much they have to pay people, so it should be $25 an hour, $30 an hour, whatever you want to decide it should be, well, congratulations. McDonald's will then bring in iPads, which they are doing at airports and they're doing at restaurants all over the country right now. You're going to fire an awful lot of people by telling the government that it should tell stores how much they should pay their employees.
Dave claims that minimum wage is causing companies to start using technology. It has nothing to do with minimum wage and has everything to do with technological advancements over the years. There are no developed countries that don't have either a minimum wage or extremely strong unions that determine pay. Having no minimum wage or unions to set a pay rate is a horrible idea.
What is this bizarre thing that MAGA is trying to force onto Americans, this collective amnesia? We were in the middle of the pandemic 4 years ago. Yes, we're better off. And the very problems that people will cite to argue against the economic success of Biden-Harris are the numbers that are a direct outcome. Be just a little bit honest for a moment, Dave and Larry, are a direct outcome of pandemic conditions.
A little bit honest.
If you can't accept that, if you can't accept that Trump was making deals with Saudi Arabia and Russia to cut oil production, that caused the spike going into Biden-Harris. If you can't accept that Trump gave to Biden a crime spike, an economic collapse, a public health disaster, then you're not critically engaging with the last few years.
In April 2020, Trump helped broker a deal with Russia, Saudi Arabia, and OPEC to cut oil production and raise prices. Trump pressured Saudi Arabia to cut oil supply and threatened to withdraw U.S. military if they didn't comply. The reason for this was because Trump's biggest oil industry donors and supporters, such as Harold Hamm, lost billions of dollars due to the low oil prices. This was a way for Trump to help oil companies and stick U.S. consumers with higher costs.
It was the Democrats, once Biden took over, who made the pandemic situation much, much, much worse.
I believe Biden's more centralized, transparent, science-based approach was more effective in controlling the virus and restoring public confidence. Trump talked about things like injecting bleach and getting light into the body.
How about we just deal with the last, say, 2 years, where they printed a relentless amount of money. And if you know anything about economics, if you ever did Economics 101 in college, if you print money, then it is going to cause inflation. Your dollar will be worth less.
Dave is talking about printing money and debt, without noting Trump put us into more than twice as much debt as Biden. Excluding COVID debt, Trump added more than $4.8 trillion and Biden added $2.2 trillion.
Why is it that our economy, just by the objective metrics we use to measure economic performance, came out of the pandemic under Biden-Harris way stronger than our wealthy economy counterparts, and then inflation, we got it down way faster? This was a global phenomenon because of a global crisis that Trump mismanaged, thus exacerbated. And you
nothing you said there was true,
the painful
so I don't know that I
facts
can
of
respond
that
to it.
moment. You exploit the painful facts of that moment for political purposes.
A lot of Republicans do this weird thing where they totally forget about the horrible things that happened at the end of Trump's term thanks to COVID, while simultaneously blaming Biden for all of the things that happened during his administration thanks to COVID. The same things that every other country in the world is still dealing with. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe to help my channel grow. Furthermore, if you want to support the channel, you can do a super chat, super sticker, or super thanks.